God bless everyone. Today, I will share the extraordinary testimony of Margaret Louise Taylor, a woman who claims to have witnessed nearly the entire British royal family suffering in the depths of hell. Through vivid encounters, she reveals their haunting confessions, unbearable torments, and the profound divine lessons that shook her soul. This chilling account is a wake-up call for us all, urging us to reflect on the choices that shape our eternal paths. Now, I will read Margaret's letter exactly as she wrote it, uncovering her sins and learning why those she saw were condemned, all through the redeeming path of Jesus Christ. My name is Margaret Louise Taylor, and I am a 62-year-old social worker from Asheville, North Carolina. My life has always revolved around helping others, delivering food to the homeless, organizing projects for women's shelters, and lending a hand wherever I could. People often described me as selfless and compassionate, someone who lived to make the world a little brighter for those in need. Yet, despite all the good I did, something within me felt incomplete. I lived my life believing that my actions were enough, but I had never fully surrendered to God or sought a deeper connection with Him. I thought my good deeds could speak for themselves, but little did I know, my faith had been shallow, and my soul longed for something far greater. It was on August 18th, 2013, that my life took a turn I could have never anticipated. It was an ordinary summer morning, filled with the promise of fresh mountain air and peaceful trails. Hoping to spend quality time with my daughter and escape the routine of daily life, I suggested a hike in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It seemed like the perfect way to reconnect with nature and find a sense of tranquility. We packed our bags with water and snacks, laced up our hiking boots, and set out for what I thought would be an uplifting, uneventful day. But what began as a serene walk through the lush green hills quickly spiraled into a day that would change the course of my life forever. Somewhere along the trail, the air seemed to grow heavier, as if the world itself held its breath. A series of unimaginable events unfolded, pulling me into a reality that defied everything I believed to be true. I can't wait to share what happened next, a moment that tore through the fabric of my understanding and led me down a path I never thought I'd walk. It all happened in an instant, a single moment that turned a peaceful day into a nightmare I could never have imagined. As we descended a steep hill on the trail, the sharp crack of a gunshot rang through the air. Before I could make sense of the sound, I felt a searing pain in my chest. A hunter, hidden somewhere in the woods, had accidentally shot me. I collapsed to the ground, and the world around me began to blur. My daughter's frantic voice echoed in my ears as she knelt beside me, trying to stop the blood that spilled onto the earth. Her fear was written all over her face, but oddly enough, I didn't feel afraid. Instead, an inexplicable peace washed over me, as if my soul was gently releasing itself from the pain and chaos of my body. In that surreal moment, I felt myself lifting away from the world I knew, as if an invisible force was pulling me into a realm beyond comprehension. Time seemed to stop, and my entire life played before me like a vivid, unending movie. I saw it all, the moments of kindness I had offered, the lives I had touched, and the smiles I had helped create. But alongside these memories came an uncomfortable truth. I saw the times I had been self-righteous, thinking my good deeds were enough. My faith, I realized, had been shallow, a series of actions performed without the deep surrender that God truly desires. The weight of this realization struck me harder than the bullet had. Despite all the good I had done, my soul had never fully committed to walking in true faith. As the scenes of my life faded, I found myself in complete darkness, surrounded by a silence that felt alive, pressing against me. I had always believed that my actions defined my worth. But now, in this unknown void, it was clear they weren't enough. The peace I had felt moments earlier began to shift into something else. A deep longing to understand where I was and why I was there. Little did I know, I was about to step into a reality that would shake the very foundation of everything I thought I knew. What I encountered next was more vivid, more terrifying, and more revealing than anything I could have imagined. The peace I once felt was replaced by a cold, suffocating darkness. I was being pulled, as though by an invisible force, into a strange void that seemed to stretch endlessly. Slowly, the outlines of a structure began to materialize in the distance. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but as the image grew sharper, my heart sank. It was Buckingham Palace, or at least a grotesque, decaying version of it. The once majestic symbol of royalty now stood in ruins, its walls blackened and crumbling, its towers billowing thick, dark smoke. The grandeur it once represented was gone, replaced by an overwhelming sense of dread. The air around me felt heavy, oppressive, and filled with an eerie silence broken only by distant, agonized screams. Every fiber of my being told me to turn away, but the unseen force dragged me closer. As I neared the entrance, I saw a line of people stretching endlessly, their faces etched with despair. They stood silently, their shoulders hunched under the weight of invisible burdens. Some wept openly, their tears mingling with the suffocating air, while others stared blankly, their eyes devoid of hope. These were not ordinary people. They were souls, trapped in a cycle of torment, heading toward a judgment they could neither escape nor delay. The closer I got, the more I could feel their pain as if it were my own. The sounds of their cries grew louder, piercing through me and leaving a chilling emptiness in my heart. Despite the terror I felt, I couldn't look away. My feet moved forward against my will, drawing me into their world, a world I was beginning to fear I was now a part of. Inside, the horrors became more personal, more vivid. In one cell, I saw Winston Churchill, a man I had admired for his leadership and resilience. But here, he was a broken figure, chained to the ground, forced to drink a burning black liquid that seared his flesh. His cries of regret echoed through the chamber, confessing his pride and the darkness he had hidden beneath his public persona. Further down, I came face to face with Princess Diana, weighed down by heavy stones that seemed to grow heavier with each passing moment. Her whispered words spoke of her inner struggles, her search for love and humility that she admitted she had never fully achieved. And then, at the end of a dimly lit corridor, I saw her, Queen Elizabeth II. The sight of her, bound in chains and surrounded by hellish creatures mocking her every word, was almost too much to bear. She sobbed, confessing her sins, of wealth hoarded while others suffered, of injustices overlooked for the sake of power. Each confession sent waves of anguish through the air, as if the very space around us bore witness to her pain. The scenes were unbearable, yet I couldn't stop moving forward. Every step took me deeper into this realm of torment, where the weight of earthly decisions hung like chains on the souls I passed. The questions burned within me. Why was I here? What had brought me to this place of suffering? But as I struggled to make sense of it all, I could feel the air grow colder, the darkness deepen, and an even more terrifying presence drawing near. What I was about to face would test the very limits of my soul. As I stumbled forward, the forest around me began to fade, its once vivid greenery dissolving into a void-like darkness. The towering trees that had offered comfort just moments ago twisted into grotesque shadows before disappearing altogether. The air grew heavy, suffocating, and cold, as if it carried the weight of despair itself. My eyes were drawn to the horizon, where a structure emerged from the smoke-filled gloom. It was a palace, but not as I had ever seen before. Its grand facade was now crumbling, its once gleaming spires charred and blackened. Flames licked hungrily at the base of its walls, while thick plumes of smoke spiraled upward as though the building itself were alive and writhing in agony. Each step closer intensified my dread, the oppressive air pressing down on me like a physical weight. And then came the screams, agonizing, unending cries that pierced through the silence like a blade. They seemed to seep into my soul, each one echoing with torment so profound it made my very being tremble. The closer I got, the more vivid the horrors became. Chains clinked and rattled in the distance, their metallic sound grating against the backdrop of despair. The people, or what were once people, were bound by these chains, their movements slow and tortured as they dragged their burdens behind them. Among them, I saw grotesque transformations that defied comprehension. Some were disfigured, their features distorted into monstrous shapes, while others bore marks of their earthly greed and pride. A man draped in smoldering jewels clawed at his burning skin, the treasures he had once cherished now his torment. Nearby, a group of young souls clutched blazing phones, their fingers melting away as they remained fixated on the screens, unable to look away despite their searing agony. The very tools of their indulgence had become the instruments of their suffering, a haunting testament to misplaced values and obsessions. The palace loomed closer, its doors impossibly wide and framed by grotesque carvings that seemed to sneer at my approach. Demons circled above and around, their eyes glowing with malice as they mocked the tormented souls below. One perched atop a blazing throne, its jagged crown casting twisted shadows that danced across the walls. The heat from the flames was unbearable, yet the souls trapped here seemed frozen in their torment, unable to escape or resist. I could feel the air grow thicker with every breath, as though it carried the collective weight of suffering that saturated this place. The sheer scale of it was overwhelming, and I couldn't help but wonder what lay beyond those doors. Something deeper, darker, and even more horrifying awaited me, and despite every fiber of my being screaming for me to turn back, I knew there was no choice but to keep going. The moment I felt the demon's eyes lock onto me, an overwhelming terror consumed me. Their grotesque forms closed in, their chains rattling with a sinister rhythm as if celebrating my impending doom. My legs felt like lead, rooted to the ground as I struggled to escape. I screamed with every ounce of strength left in me, a desperate plea that reverberated through the suffocating darkness. Just as the icy grip of their chains wrapped around my body, everything shattered like glass. The suffocating heat, the agonized screams, the oppressive darkness, it all vanished in an instant. I woke up gasping for air, my body trembling uncontrollably, drenched in sweat and tears. My surroundings came into focus. I was back in my room, the familiar light of dawn creeping through the curtains. Yet, the echoes of what I had seen and felt lingered within me, as vivid as if I had just returned from another world. As the trembling subsided, a profound realization washed over me. What I had experienced wasn't a nightmare, nor was it a figment of my imagination. It was a divine intervention, a warning carved deeply into my soul. In that otherworldly place, I had been shown the weight of sin, the consequences of pride, and the emptiness of a life without spiritual surrender. I knew, with every fiber of my being, that I had been given a second chance. From that day forward, I vowed to live differently, not just doing good deeds, but grounding every action in faith, humility, and gratitude. The clarity I now possessed was a gift, and I couldn't ignore its purpose. My heart felt both heavy and light, burdened with the responsibility of change, yet filled with the hope of redemption. But what had I truly witnessed? Why had I been chosen to see such things? The answers, I felt, lay not in what I had left behind, but in what awaited me next. If this testimony has touched your heart or left you with questions, I invite you to join this journey of reflection and faith. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story that challenges and inspires. If you found this video meaningful, please give it a like and share it with others who might need to hear this powerful message. And most importantly, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your opinions, questions, or reflections in the comments section below. Your voice matters, and together we can explore these profound truths. Thank you for watching, and God bless.